But when you really connect with what your true values are and you align with them, what happens? Self-esteem happens. Confidence in yourself happens. If you think about it, if you know at least one of your values and you think about times that your behavior, you did something that aligned with that value, how did you feel? You felt good about yourself. You felt more like you know yourself, which gives you confidence in yourself, more certainty. So for example, if you value kindness and you act in a kind way, you experience self-esteem. You experience confidence. That's where self-esteem and confidence comes from, confidence in yourself. There are so many books written on self-esteem and confidence, and I have never read one except for one, my mentor's book, that explained this. And what that does is it makes self-esteem and confidence seem like this mysterious thing that floats around like a fairy. And maybe it blesses you and maybe it doesn't, but you can never really have control over it. And that's just not true. When you know your values and you align to those values, this is what you get. It's very predictable, very predictable. But then again, most people don't know what their values are. So if you're aligning to other people's values, like trying to please people, there might be some fulfillment in that. It does feel good to make people happy if you're truly making them happy. But a lot of people who impose themselves on you and say, well, if you do this for me, it would make me very happy, or you should do this for me, especially if you're doing things because you feel like you should do them because somebody's guilting or shaming you into it, there's not going to be much fulfillment in that. You're not going to feel good about yourself either. So how do we know what our true values are? How do we find them? I think it's first important to define the term value so that you understand what it is you're looking for. So all a value is, it's a generalization about experiences that are important to you. So happiness, what is happiness? You know what happiness is like. You might not feel like you're a happy person, but you know what happiness is. How do you know that? You have had happy experiences that you call happy, times when I was happy. And so you put them in a category. We talked a lot about this yesterday on the live that I did yesterday about beliefs. You put them in a category, and this is a category of happiness, you being happy. Now, like I was saying about your values being a projection, you might have shared that experience with other people, and they weren't happy. They were experiencing something else, which is, again, another way that you can understand that it's really coming from you. I remember the first time really understanding this when I was at a hypnosis training, I guess you'd call it, and we were working with values, and I was supposed to find a few values like happiness, and I forget what the other ones were, but I remember a time when I was surfing and I was so happy. I was all by myself, just surrounded by ocean, and just couldn't believe like how good I felt. And then as I was going deeper and deeper into hypnosis, I realized that it had so little to do with the ocean and the sun and the cliffs and the cold water that my wetsuit was protecting me from. And it was really all coming out of me. I was simply allowing myself to experience what was inside of me. And at the time that happened, I associated it with surfing and being in the ocean. And all those things are beautiful, not knocking any of those things. But without me, the observer, the witness, the person experiencing it, those feelings didn't exist. They were coming out of me. So your values, a value, is a generalization about an experience that's important to you, something you want more of. So how you do this is you do a values elicitation. It's one of the first things you'll learn probably in any basic NLP training. I took my the NLP practitioner training, which is the beginner level. I took that like 3 times with 3 different teachers because I really felt like I wanted to get this down. And I know a lot of people were like passing through the program, they get their certificate and say, oh, I'm a practitioner, so it's off to more advanced trainings. And I knew better. I knew it was like, no. I need to do this 3 times to really feel like I've got this. I learned values elicitation in every one, but then they didn't take it any further. It's like you just kind of do a basic values elicitation. And I was like, I knew that there was more to this. There's a lot more to a values elicitation than just stopping there. And I decided to go much, much deeper with values. And they have become a part of my own practice and a part of my coaching and as a part of my teaching program. Because as a coach, I'll start off as a coach. If you don't know what your client wants, coaching doesn't even start until you know clearly what your client wants, and your values are the deeper levels of what you want, what a person wants. And if you individually don't know what you want, if you get it, it's only going to be by chance. If you don't truly understand, and I talked about this in the first live that I did about clarity. If you don't understand, if you're not clear about what it is you're trying to experience here, doesn't matter how clear you are about the goals. If you don't understand what is the deeper feeling you're wanting to fulfill, the deeper values you're wanting to fulfill, it's very hard to make that happen, even if you achieve the goal. But what happens if you understand what your values are, and so you're able to access that fulfillment right away? Well, you become extremely resourceful. You become extremely motivated to find out what you're actually capable of, what your potential holds for you. And this is what I say. This is not about being like that pure oneness Buddha sitting on the floor and just being happy doing that and not accomplishing anything. Very few people find fulfillment in that because we have so much potential inside of us. And part of our fulfillment comes, the major part of our fulfillment comes from fulfilling our potential. And so when you're connecting with that and you're accessing that and you're very clear about what the values are that are driving that, getting what you want, accomplishing what you want becomes so much easier and so much more enjoyable. But that's not the model that you were taught. The model that we're all taught is the carrot on a stick, right? I must chase something. I must feel like lacking in something so that I then chase it. And I just got to tell you, the majority of the time when I've caught the carrot wasn't fulfilling at all, because I'm still believing that this carrot is supposed to give me that fulfillment. And maybe it does for a little while, or I think it does, and then it wears off. Why? Because I'm looking outside of myself for that fulfillment instead of inside of myself. So you do a values elicitation, and how you do that is you either start with a context in your life, divide your life up into 3 to 5 major life contexts. Then I would single out one particular context to work with, one at a time. This makes it so much easier if you do it this way. And then ask myself, in this context, what do I want? Now, a goal, an achievement, possession, whatever might be the first thing that comes to mind. Great. Once I think of that, I will ask myself, what is important to me about that? And then a value will pop out. Well, achievement. Maybe that's what it is. That's a value. I say, okay, great. What is important to me about achieving success? Success is a value. Great. What is important to me about success? When I succeed, it makes me happy. Awesome. Now we're getting to some deep stuff. What is important to me about being happy? I feel free. Boom. Huge value. Huge, huge value. What is important about freedom? Makes me feel at peace when I'm free. So you want to do this line of questioning on the things that you want and go deeper and deeper into these deeper level values. And as you do this, these values become much more clear to you. You connect with them. They're instant motivation. When you connect with your values, that is instant motivation. That is how motivation is created. Again, motivation is not a fairy flying around that blesses you every now and then, throws a little fairy motivation dust on you and you go, oh, now I feel motivated. No, it's when you connect with your values. Remember, your values are the experiences that are important to you. So when you set a goal that aligns with your values, you're very motivated because you're very clear about that. You're very clear what that goal is doing for you. You're also acknowledging that the value is coming from you, so that you're not waiting to experience the fulfillment when you achieve the goal. You're experiencing it every step of the way, which keeps you motivated. You're not waiting to finally turn that corner and then experience fulfillment. You're already fulfilled, experiencing deeper and deeper levels of fulfillment because you're tapping into your potential and you're working towards something that is opening you up and fulfilling your potential more and more and more. I also recommend, once you've elicited your values, to rank your values within that context. And the reason for that, it will make you razor sharp when it comes to making decisions and choices in that particular context. When you know what your values are in order of importance, you're going to make great decisions. And even when you make decisions that don't work out well, you'll still know that you made the best decision you possibly could have.